comfortable because everybody's a little bit different in how they choose to perceive and conceptualize things. But when you're working with the energy centers of the Dantians in our system, the middle Dantian, the lower Dantian, and the upper Dantian, try to give some thought to the concept that the upper Dantian, as we've said for the last couple of weeks, that last week since we started it, is associated with the connection to the yangs or the heavens energy in our art. And it also has to do with the intuitive aspect of the self and the spiritual aspect of the self, and the color vibrational frequency is that of indigo. And then you were working...
Walk of Honor, 2nd Avenue. Walk of Honor, 2nd Avenue.
Okay, so, and then you were working with the middle Dantian and you embrace the tree. And as we said, that works with the concept of the self, okay, in our art. And that has to do with the vibratory frequency. A lot of people associate that with green, okay? And then you were working with the Buddha holds belly, which is your connection in our art and modality to earth energy, okay? And that is the yin energy. And the color representation with that is orange, okay, with the lower Dantian. So as you're doing this, now that you have the three of them, you're asked to give some consideration to aligning those three Dantians within yourself and to begin to at least open up your perception that those energy centers are sharing information, if you will. Try to think how an elevator would go from one floor to the next, okay, up and down. And this is how this information is shared, okay? So it's much more than just trying to give it some external focus, okay? So with that said, explore it to your own comfort level, if at all. Remember where, how you were taught to find the location of the upper Dantian. Create a triangle, if you will, without the index fingers and the thumbs touching, aligning the center of the triangle up to the best of your ability with the brow of the upper Dantian. Try not to have a 90-degree bend. You can look down at your elbows. You can see if there's a 90, go out a little bit further without locking the elbows. And bring that awareness and that, that attentiveness, or what we call the listening, to that area of the upper Dantian. beep's done, I'm going to ask you to just open your eyes slowly and look in the mirror. You can see how a lot of your hands have dropped. Now, can be a challenging standing meditation to keep the triangle at the brow. So you have to really observe within yourself, and you have to constantly monitor your alignment awarenesses. Okay, so if you open your eyes and you see your hands drop, you'll have to be a little bit more observant to the best of your ability. So just take a breath in as you turn the palms towards you. Use the out breath to permit the crane heads to descend slowly towards Mother Earth. And with an awareness, as always, if one chooses, of gathering the universal chi, we create a single chi ball overhead. And we use the mind with the out breath, such as to guide that down and into the lower dantian, where the hands will separate and they'll return back to Wu Ji. Are there any questions on that standing meditation?
When one hand drops, but the other one stayed where it's supposed to be, is that well, it also indicated my shoulder was hurting, but beside that.
You have to pay attention within yourself. I mean, this is what we call the listening in our art, which is really, it's like feeling. And so you create that connection. There'll come a time, if you're very observant, you'll actually begin to feel the connection of this triangle. And you'll begin to feel when that triangle disconnects energetically. So the more that you're willing to tune your perception internally, you'll begin to feel not only when the triangle separates, but when one arm or both arms begin to drop down. It's more trying to develop that internal listening and awareness and perception than it is just trying to look in the mirror and, okay, well, I'm dropped, I got to go back up. Much preferable that you feel it internally and you sense it. Okay? But it is challenging because, we're still in the beginning. If you haven't been doing, for lack of it, with all due respect, if people haven't been doing their homework at home on a regular basis, if you haven't been doing this from day one, and then this, and then all the other things that we do, these things are going to be very challenging because I can only present it to you with the understanding that you were doing the homework at home. But if you're not, and I'm not saying that in a nasty or disrespectful way, then these things are going to be even more challenging. Because everything that I've given you from day one is in a specific order to allow the body on all different levels to adapt and process what you need to process in order to be able to do the next thing. But if you don't do that thing, then you haven't prepared yourself.
Oh, I'll try.
Okay? So I'm not saying it in a nasty way. I'm just saying that you have to work on it. Okay? All righty? But try to listen. Okay? And this will show up. If this happens, you'll feel that. You'll feel that disconnect there eventually. Okay? All right. So we're gonna. Are there any other questions on that? We're gonna do Yang's 21 Qigong set. As with everything that we do, you're encouraged always to understand the external component, but understand that the internal component is equally, valuable. So you have to listen to that as well. And all of your Qigong exercises, and your standing meditation is a Qigong exercise, I hope you understand that. You're encouraged to create the awareness that, the body is one unbroken Qi. So in actuality, every single movement that you're making here is drawing that energy of the universal all that is through you. Okay, so every Qigong exercise, every movement, every Tai Chi movement is in turn drawing that energy through you. Okay, so it's up to you to, if you wish to, as I always say, if you wish to change the experience, you have to be willing to change the perception. Okay, so if you perceive that every movement draws the energy through you, then you'll begin to experience that energy as it moves through you. Okay? All right, so here we are here. I'll talk you through it. Everybody's got a lot of room today. So, from Wu Ji, with the in-breath, we'll extend slowly out through the crane heads to the corners, keeping the shoulders relaxed, elbows down as always. Once at shoulder height, we'll exhale as we seat both wrists so the palms are flat to Mother Earth. And with the in-breath, we'll slowly crisscross the right wrist over the left in front of the chest. And with the out-breath, the wrist relax down. With the in-breath, keeping the wrist slightly touching, both palms turn towards us so that the left palm is closer to self and the thumbs are chin height. And then the exhale as the hands slowly separate and descend downward. With the inhalation, both palms rise to the heavens, keeping the hands shoulders distance apart and the elbows down. Once at shoulder height, you'll exhale as the arms expand slowly to the corners, as always keeping the back rounded, chest hollow. And with the in-breath, we'll roll the fingers in to create Phoenix Eye, guiding the energy into the pineal gland. So you want to be right about the center of your skull there to guide that energy into the pineal. And turning the palms slowly to the heavens with the out-breath, we open the hands. And as we continue the out-breath, the elbows will point to Mother Earth as the palms follow as they point to Mother Earth. And turning the palms to the heavens with the in-breath, we again roll the fingers in to create Phoenix Eye, and again guiding the energy into the pineal gland. And turning the palms to the heavens with the out-breath, we simultaneously press slowly through the toes and through the palms. And with the in-breath, we lower ourselves slowly through the feet as we crisscross the wrist so that the right wrist is closer to self and the palms face away. And with the out-breath, we first relax the wrist and we continue the out-breath as the hands slowly descend to chest height. And with the in-breath, with the wrist slightly touching, we turn both palms towards us so that the left palm is closer to self. And with the out-breath, the hands slowly separate as they descend downward. And with the in-breath, the right hand lays gently atop the left in front of the lower dantian, such that the thumbs lightly touch and the fingers align over one another, creating a mudra. Turning slowly to your left with the out-breath, we shift the weight, so you're turning to your left, and the weight shifts through the right foot, and coming in slowly to the center with the in-breath, we begin to shift the weight through the left foot as we exhale, turning slowly to your right. And coming slowly into the center with the in-breath. The knees are slightly bent as always. We breathe out as we bend, relax from the waist. The hands separate. We continue the out-breath as the palms turn down. And we only descend down to what we are comfortable with our flexibility, no further. And with the in-breath, we come up very slowly as we turn the palms upward. And the right wrist will go underneath the left, and we continue to come up vertical with the in-breath till the palms face us and the thumbs are chin height. And with the out-breath, the left hand will begin to ascend to the heavens as the right hand descends to Mother Earth. Turning the palms in continuation with the out-breath, connecting yin and yang energy through self, and the other hand will be down. And with the in-breath, turning both palms towards us. Right palm this time will be closer to self. And with the out-breath, the right hand will go high to the heavens as the left hand descends towards Mother Earth. Again, turning the palms in unison with the continuation of the out-breath. And your left palm will just turn down, Francis. There you go, good. And then with the in-breath, we'll turn both palms towards us. This time the left palm will be closer to self as the wrists intersect and the thumbs are at chin height. And with the out-breath, the hands will slowly separate and descend downward to the sides, where we'll take a breath in as we turn the palms down to Mother Earth, and we use the out-breath such as to seat the wrist and bring the hands back to what we call Wu Ji. So we are getting better on that. It takes a little bit of time. When I look around the room, one of the things that seems to be like, when you watch a student's face, sometimes they look a little puzzled, not to point anybody out or anything. Sometimes this turning of the wrist can be, so let's go over this just for a moment here, because it's a lot easier than we make it to be, okay? So let's go over this. When we're getting ready to do any of these like turning of the wrist, let's go over it this way. If you put your crane heads out to the corners, and this is your very first movement in Yang's 21, and you seat both wrists, and then bring the right wrist over top the left. Now, one of the things that's going to help you immensely here is think of a connection very, very lightly from the one wrist, which will be the soft side of the right wrist to the hard side of the left wrist. Keep that energetically connected and just relax the wrist. Now, with that energetically connected, it's as if your left hand's going to sort of tuck underneath your arm and then just turn it. And look how easy that is. Now go back And if you just keep them connected and let that left one tuck underneath, look how simple that is. Okay? Sometimes, and I'm not making light, all of us included, sometimes it looks like we're doing all different things, but if you just keep the wrists slightly connected, you'll see how simplistic that is. Okay? So we're okay with that? So are there any questions on that? Because that's all written out for you, so that should be something, hopefully, that makes it a little bit easier for you guys to work on at home. And it's a great Qigong exercise because it opens the whole body up. Remember, one of the things we're trying to do is keep this energy moving through all the subtle energetic pathways. So we're going to work on the Qigong just about a minute or so, not a long time, that goes out to the corners. Because in your movement that we're just starting, stork spreads its wings, this is the movement here, but this movement is prevalent throughout all of our Tai Chi. So very, very important. And the main thing here is put yourself into that imaginary box and understand where the corners are. And don't have it go out to the sides, as we often say. So from Wu Ji, just about a minute here, we're going to take a breath in as we extend out through the crane heads to the corners. As always, keeping your back rounded, chest hollowed, shoulders relaxed, elbows down. Once at shoulder height, just seat the wrist and guide down through the palms to the top of the thigh height. So get used to feeling. What does it feel like when I relax my shoulders and that allows my elbows to drop? And what does it feel like when I consciously create a gentle roundness to the back and a gentle hollowness to the chest? This is what I'm encouraging guys to listen to. You don't want to rely on me or any teacher to constantly correct your physical alignment. It's better if the teacher can guide you into the understanding of when it doesn't feel right, so that you can correct it and understand why it's not correct. That's good. Make sure you're going out to the corners. Think of the corners of the box. Just about another 30 seconds. You should be leading up through each crane head on the movement up. And you should be leading down through the palms on the movement down. One more time, up and down if we may. Sometimes the visualization of the hands coming out of a dripping pool of water helps on the way up. Sometimes the visualization of the palms pressing gently through a still pool of water on the way down can be beneficial too. We'll bring the hands back to what we call Wu Ji. Okay? So I'd encourage you, you have the other Qigongs that we've worked on since day one, and you can see how they relate to your form, commencement, gaze left, look right. Those Qigong exercises are in there. So try to work on those. So what we took a pretty good amount of time on Tuesday, and we went over your individual movements. So what I need to do today, because of what we're going to be working with lift hands and the movements that are coming after that, I want to go back and I want to show you how critical it is and important for you guys to encourage you guys to continue to work on your crane Qigong and this lift hands Qigong, okay? Because your crane is going to show itself today when we begin to work on the crane pulls its wing, okay? So if you haven't been doing, again, with all due respect, if you haven't been doing your homework at home, it's going to be a little bit more challenging. If you've been doing your homework at home, it's going to be less challenging, okay? So let me put this timer over here, and let's just review this a little bit, okay? Because we're going to spend more time on our form today. But let's go over this crane a little bit. If you put your heels lightly touching with a very slight V, let's go through that. I'll face this way until we get this going, then I'll face the other way. Remember, when you're doing this crane frolic Qigong, it works with the heart energy, so it opens up that heart energy, but we also used it as an introduction into how to develop your cat stance. And your cat stance is a 90-10 weight distribution, 90% on the rear, 10% on the front toe. And everybody's different. I'm shorter. If you have Don or Roy or somebody next to you that's taller, they're going to be out longer, okay, because their legs are longer and their 90-10 is going to be a different length than mine's going to be. So you have to begin to feel this 90-10 weight distribution. And this will make a lot more sense when we get this other movement in that's coming. So let's do the hands. You have to make sure that you draw that imaginary line in your mind out from the sides. And when you bring the crane heads back, they should not go behind your body. If they go back to the sides there, you're going to feel the chest pop out, and we know that that's not correct. So all you do is bring them in front of you. I can feel my back round, my chest hollow. Okay, now I know internally that I'm correct. And all we do, without embellishing, you just turn the crane heads, and like magnets, they want to come in and gently touch if your flexibility permits. And without embellishing, we just turn the crane heads, so it's almost like they're repelling, if you will. Okay? Think of it as the wings. The wings close very gently and smoothly, and then the wings open. And as long as we don't put any shoulder embellishment in like this, and we keep it connected and the energy moves. And for those of you that might be very sensitive to your energy, you may begin to feel how that opens that heart center up. Very, very powerful in its ability to open the heart center and let go of what we don't need to hold on to. Okay, so you guys are good with your crane wings. Think of the crane itself, become the crane, and take on its essence. Now, bring the hands back and sort of just have the hands in imaginary waist-deep water. Let's get the feet going. The cadence as you bring the feet back when you do this stationary is a toe-heel-toe cadence. And that's going to be prevalent throughout our yang, long form, okay? But I'm going to ask you to sink the weight through the left foot deep into Mother Earth and bring the right foot up only to, you don't have to bring it up real high, but bring it up and step out and touch on the toes. Now, when you touch on the toes, it's in relationship to, if it's your right foot, which we're out on now, it's in line with your right shoulder, okay? Not the outside of the shoulder, but the right here with your shoulder. Make sure that you're not too wide, that you're not too narrow, that you're right in front of the shoulder, and you have to begin to feel when you achieve that 90-10 weight distribution. So if you go, just bear with me here, if you stay with the weight through your left foot and go out longer, you're going to feel how that pulls you out of your alignment. If I can help you to feel what it shouldn't feel like, I can help you to feel what it should feel like a lot more easily. So now draw it back in until you feel where that weight can transfer and release through the rear leg, and that you're 90-10. Now here's your cadence, as you know. When you bring it back, you're going to touch toe, heel, toe. Now you're sunk and transferred and released through the right foot, and now you're going to step out and touch on the left toes. And then again, feel that 90-10. And then bring that back, toe, heel, toe, step out. And then bring it back, toe, heel, toe, step out. Now, while you're in this cat stance, it helps if you create the internal awareness of the essence of this. They call it a cat stance because, like we said when we first learned it, it's like a kitty cat waiting to pounce. It's a relaxed state of alertness, okay? So you have to create that relaxed state of alertness. Okay, now let's try to put it together. When you step out and touch on the toes, the crane head should lightly touch. Okay, so we're not going to spend a ton of time on this because we have so much to do, but I'm going to encourage you to work on this as your homework, if you want to call it that. Okay, so here we are here. Just breathe naturally until you're comfortable with the physicality of the movement, and then you can synchronize your Buddhist breath with it as always. So shift the weight deep through the left foot into Mother Earth, and as you step out on the right toes, the crane heads touch, and that's approximately in front of the navel. And then as you draw it back, the crane head's open, and it's a toe, heel, toe, step out, crane heads touch as the toe touches. And then you bring it back, toe, heel, toe, step out. Try to have your crane heads touch. If you project the line out from your navel, lower dantian area, that's where the crane head should touch. Don't have them up at your solar plexus. Have them down here. Feel when they're at the navel. And then bring them up to the solar. Feel how your shoulders tense when you bring them up. Bring it down. Look how that releases the tension. Okay? So bring it back. Toe, heel, toe. Step out. Touch on the toes. Toe, heel, toe. Step out. Crane heads touch. Now try to get your timing. Some of us, the timing's off. You want to have that front toe touch in its cat stance at the exact time the crane heads touch. That's much better than a few weeks ago. Toe, heel, toe, crane heads touch. Bring it back. Toe, heel, toe, crane heads touch. Okay, then take a few moments and relax. Now, when you're doing your lift hands in its Qi Kong format, not in the form, it's the same 90-10 stance, but instead of being on the toes, you're now learning how to touch on the heel. But it's the same concept. You have to understand that you don't want to go too long. You have to adjust it for your body frame, okay? So let's put our heels lightly touching here, okay? And just see what the feet are doing first, and then we'll do the hands, and then we'll put this lift hands Qigong together. So if we shift the weight through the left foot deep in the Mother Earth, and we bring the right foot up, and we go out, same concept, only instead of touching on the toes, we touch on the heel. And see if you can feel that 90-10 weight distribution. And the foot's in front of your corresponding shoulder. And there's a toe, heel, toe cadence here. Toe, heel, toe, bring the foot up, step out, touch on the heel. So you go out on the left heel, there you go. All we're doing is alternate. So I'm going to bring it back, toe, heel, toe. It gets confusing because I'm in front of you and it's the opposite when you're looking at it, heel. Bring it back, toe, heel, toe, step out, touch on the heel. Okay, now let's see what the hands are doing here. So same basic concept here. It's different in its expression when you're doing it as a Qigong exercise as opposed to the form, because in the form we're coming from single whip in the lift hand, so it's a little bit different transition, but it gives you the essence or the foundation of the movement. Think of lift hands as being out of contracting energy, okay? So with the hands like this, you're going to go up through the crane heads to shoulder height. This is why you've been asked to do this Qigong out to the corners. Now, we're going to make our right hand what we call the forward hand. So now as we contract the energy, the right fingertips will be in line with the right eye and underneath it. And take a look in the mirror. That's the best thing to use. Am I in your way of the mirror, John, for you?
No.
Okay. If you look and make sure you don't have a 90-degree bend where the right elbow is. Make sure that the index finger is underneath your right eye, and that the Lao Gong, the energy gate of your left palm, should line up with the inside of that forward arm's elbow. There you go. Okay? And try not to have we're calling this the rear hand. Try not, you're confused, Francis? I'm sorry.
I'm looking at Carol. I was looking at Carol and her what?
Mine's going to look different because I'm facing you. Yeah, so she was right.
I
Yeah,
was
so-
right for a change. Because I get my right and left all confused.
Okay, and now make sure that the rear hand has to line up with that elbow. And try not to have it cross the center line. See how yours is cross the center line, John, the rear hand? This is what we call our center line, as if you had buttons or zippers down the front of you. See how that rear hand, try not to let that cross the center line. Don't bring it in too close, in other words. Okay? Now, all you're going to do, real simple here, don't embellish it, just turn the palms and let the crane heads descend, and then they go up again to the corners. Now your left hand's going to be your more forward hand. Now the left fingertips line up underneath the left eye, and when you contract the energy, the right palm now is lined up with the forward arm's elbow. But you got to line it up with the elbow here, okay? Very important. There you go. Now you got it, Francis. That's it. Okay, and then just turn it, the hands, let them descend, and then out to the corners. Make sure you go more to the corners here, John. It's a little bit too much to the sides. There you go. And now the right hand will be the more forward hand. And utilize the mirror, the tool that the mirror is. Look at your right fingertips. They should be underneath your right eye. Okay, and then turn the hands, and then let the crane heads descend. And then again up to the corners. And then as you seat both wrists, the left hand will be the more forward hand. All you're doing is alternating them. And one more time with each hand, then we'll put them together. Turn the palms, let the crane heads descend, come up through the crane heads to the corners. And now I forgot which hand I just did.
Right now.
The right hand? Okay, thank you very much. Right hand is the forward hand. Then turn your palms, crane heads descend, come up. And this is how we do it as far as one of the Qigong exercises that helps us to explore this. Okay? See, even you just have to line your rear palm up with the inside of the elbow. And that'll help you immensely. Now, let's give it a try, trying it together here. Now, like I said, it's different in this than it is in the expression of the form, so don't let it confuse you. Use this to create your understanding of the movement, and then we can make that transition to how it's expressed in the form. So with the hands here out in front of the body, Sink the weight deep through the left foot. And remember, when you bring this knee up here, you're going to angle the foot. You're going to angle it to what you're comfortable with. Okay, did we forget that? I should have gone over that, okay? Let's go over that just for a moment. You have to use your discernment on how high you bring the knee up. Remember we said that, that you could have a day where the balance doesn't feel really good within you, or where the balance doesn't feel good for a length of time. Don't do anything that's beyond what you're comfortable doing so that you compromise your balance. But give this a try. When you bring the foot up that's coming up, the foot should angle inward as if you're protecting. See, ideally it comes up like this. Look how it's protecting my knee. So you don't want it to touch, but see how when it comes up it's protecting. Even if you're only comfortable bringing it up this high, bring it up this high, but have it angled so that it protects. And try not to use your other leg to rest the foot there. Okay? Now somebody said that there's a yoga pose like this, but they touch. No disrespect to yoga. I'm not being disrespectful at all. We don't touch the foot here, okay? So so if you're in yoga, it can be confusing, So okay, let's just give this a try. Sink the weight through the left foot. Bring your right knee up and angle the foot. And then when you go down, just touch on the heel. Straighten the foot out. Touch on the heel. But bring it out in front of you so that you touch in that 90-10 stance, and then bring it back. Toe, heel, toe. Now bring the left knee up with the foot angled, and then touch out on the heel, 90-10 stance. Bring it back, toe, heel, toe. Now the right knee up with the foot angled. Come out, 90-10 stance. Bring it back, toe, heel, toe. Come up, foot angled, go out, and we bring it back. Now, if you are not comfortable at all with your balance doing that, or you have a day where your balance doesn't feel really good, which we all have, okay, then you modify it, okay? And this is going to be prevalent throughout our form, because not everybody, all the different movements in the form won't be conducive to everybody's level of their ability to do it. And this is one of the great things about our art, it's adaptable to each individual's need, okay? So let's just try what we call this modified version of this. So, with the weight through the left foot. So it's good to know this in case you're not comfortable bringing the knee up. So all you're going to do is sink the weight through the left foot, and all I'm going to do is ask you to touch on the toe with the foot angled, and then just touch on the heel. Boom. So all you're doing is this here, but don't have it too close to in front. Try to have it a little bit off. If it's like off to the right there you go. That's better, because then it sort of gets like a bad game of Twister here. Okay, so here we are here, because that way all you got to do is just touch on the heel, and this is just taking and modifying it. So bring it back, toe, heel up on the left toes, and then step out and put that angle there in a cat stance, and then just touch on the heel. Okay, and bring it back. Let's try one more with each side, the modified way. Go out, touch on the toe, foot angle. See how you're protecting the center line here? And then just touch on the heel. Come back, toe, heel, toe. Come up on the left toes. Go out, touch on the left toes, and then touch on the heel. Okay? So now we have, the one way to do it, the other way to do it. Eventually down the road, you know that we're never done. It keeps evolving. When you're actually doing this in the form, later on, before the heel touches, this turns and it expresses the kick like this, and then it straightens out. But we don't ask you to do that till we give you the tools to develop the balance, okay? So I'm going to face the other way so it's not too confusing. We're just going to do about a minute of this, okay? Then we're going to move on from there. Okay, so if we put our heels together and the hands are out in front of the body. Now, it's up to you to use your discernment on how high you bring the knee up, if at all, or use the modified version. Try to remember, a lot of people think, well, the way that he first showed me is the way it's supposed to be done. Well, yes and no. You have to make sure that you do it for your comfort level. So if you try to do it and your body's not comfortable doing it and you lose your balance, then you're not keeping the energy moving. So you're much better to do the modified version and allow the energy to move properly and put yourself in a position where you're not losing your balance, okay? So, only do what you're comfortable with. So, with the hands here like this, weight shifts through the left foot. And as you bring the right knee up with the foot angle, bring the crane heads up to shoulder height. And as you get ready to touch on the heel, the right fingertips are in front of the right eye, on the heel. There you go. Now, as you turn the hands, just turn the hands, bring the foot back, toe, heel, toe. And now as you bring the left knee up at the foot angle, crane heads come up to shoulder height. And now you touch on the left heel with the left fingertip. You just have to get on your heel there, Eva. I know it can be confusing here.
It's okay.
Okay, so then turn your hands, bring it back,
The
toe,
narration is
heel,
fantastic, it's wonderful.
toe, come up, and then seat the wrist. Right fingertips are out in front. Think of it this way, make your own little mental notes on this. If the right foot's out in front, your right hand will be the more forward hand, and that's a real easy one for most of us. Just turn the hands, bring it back, toe, heel, toe, come up, seat both wrists. Left hand's out in front. Look at the mirror though, make sure, remember, if the left hand's the forward hand, the fingertips under the left eye. And the right hand, without crossing the center line, lines up with the inside of the elbow. Just a couple more. Bring it back, turn the palms, toe, heel, toe. Right knee comes up with the right foot angle, hands to shoulders height. Now you touch on the right heel with the right fingertips out in front. Okay, and the left hand has to line up with the elbow of the right hand. One more time. Turn the hands. It'll get easier, trust me. Toe, heel, up on the left toes. Left knee comes up, foot angle. Touch on the left heel with the left fingers under the left eye. Okay, take and relax, okay? You'll be glad to know that in your short form and your 108, you're only doing this on the one side, okay? So, yeah, so it's not as bad as you might think. Now, let's take from where we left off on Tuesday on these newer movements. We'll go over these for about 10, 15 minutes or so, and then we're going to put this form together, okay? So what I want us to do is I want us to line up facing this way and have your left foot on a very slight angle out to the left here. Now, draw an imaginary line or use the lines in the floor and line your right heel up with the left heel. Okay, so now you're in that left hand stance. So you bring your right foot out in front of the left and you line that right heel up with the left heel in this case. This is how it's done in the form. Now, put your right fingertips in front of the right eye but below it, and the left hand at the elbow here. I want you to utilize the mirror. You have to be 90% through the rear foot because you're going to make a pivot on that right heel. As you're pivoting slowly on the right heel towards the mirror, the left palm descends to the lower dantian as the right hand begins to go right over the back of the left hand, and you get all the way around till the right toe's in front of the mirror. Okay, and then your hand should be at the lower dantian height. Now it looks like sort of a crazy chicken stance or something, but it's to seal the center line up here. The block is to protect you from a kick to the groin here in the form. Okay, so now keep your left foot where it's at and just pivot back on that right heel. And now put your hands in that lift hands position. So in the process of pivoting, the left hand's descending, and then the right palm's going right over the back of that, so that when that right toe gets right in front of the mirror, the weight sinks through the right foot, and your hands are at the lower dantian height. That's not bad, guys. Keep your left foot where it's at, and one more time, go back to your lift hands position. Now, make your pivot again, and as you're pivoting, the left hand descends down, and the right palm goes right over the back of that. Now, the weight right there should be through your right foot. Now think of this, the next movement's called stork spreads its wings. So the hands separate, and then the crane heads go up to the corners, just like your Qi Kung taught you. Now the next movement is a setup for what we call scoop the moon from C-bottom. So as both palms go flat, seating the wrist, you're pivoting on the left toe, so now the left toes are going to go straight to the mirror. And as you bring the left foot in and touch on the toes, bring the hands in the shoulders distance. So now you're on the left toes. As you touch on the left heel, you descend down to a height that you're comfortable with, keeping the heels down and the knees lightly touching. And you only go down to what you're comfortable with and keep your gaze out to the mirror here so you can see yourself. Now with the hands shoulders distance, the palms spread out. And think of yourself as gathering something. So you're gathering the energy here, and you're going to turn the palms up, and the right wrist goes under the left. And that right crane head is right at your navel height, and the whole body comes up as one unit. And the weight goes through the left foot there. And the hands, the right crane head is at your navel height. Try not to bring it up. So you want to lift the whole body. So let's go back and try that a few times, okay? So put our left foot at a slight angle, and line your right heel up with that left heel. That's imperative so that when you make this pivot, you can close that center line up. You don't want to see a big gap between your legs. I know it may look a little uncomfortable, look a little strange, but this is to close the center line up. So with the right fingertips below the right eye and the left palm lined up with that elbow, and right fingertips, and then the left, there you go, that's it, Marion. And now with the weight 90% through the rear foot, you're going to pivot slowly on the left heel as the left palm descends down to the lower dantian, and the right palm goes right over the back of the left hand. Boom, as the weight shifts through the right foot there. And the hands should be crisscrossed in front of the lower dantian. Now with the weight through the right foot, the crane heads expand to the corners. That stork spreads its wings. Once at corner height, you seat both wrists as you pivot on the left toes. That's why it was imperative to get the weight through the right foot there. And then as you bring the left foot in and touch on the toes, the hands come in the shoulders distance, touch on the left toes. And as you sink, touch the heel down, keep the heels connected to Mother Earth and the knees lightly, and only go down as far as you're comfortable with the eyes looking ahead. This is called scoop the moon from sea bottom. The palms spread. And then turn the palms up and crisscross the right wrist under the left. And then the whole body comes up as one integrated unit till you're vertical, and the hand, the right crane head is at navel height, and the weight's through the left foot. So we're going to try that one more time, if we may. Okay? Make sure that when you angle this left foot, it's not on too much of a, too extreme of an angle. Okay? And then put your right heel in line with that. And then create your lift hands with your right fingertips underneath your right eye. So we're getting better with this. You want to be empty on that heel there, Karen, though. So you got to be empty here. So you got to be able to pivot on that, okay?
Right.
You don't want to pivot on that on a substantial leg because you'll hurt that knee. So now we're going to make our pivot. And as we're doing that, the left hand blocks down, and the right one goes over top of that. Boom. Now the weight's through the right foot there. Then stork spreads its wings, keeping the feet flat, weight through the right foot. Once at shoulder height, seat both wrists and pivot on the left toes. Bring the left foot in, touch on the toes as you bring the hands in the shoulders distance. And as the left heel touches, you descend down, keeping the heels touching Mother Earth and the knees lightly touching, eyes out in front. And then the palms spread out. This is scoop the moon from sea bottom. Turn the palms up, and the right wrist goes under the left. And then the whole body comes up as one unit with the weight going through the left foot. Now, we're going to just try it from the single whip, okay, that sort of leads us into this lift hands here. But I want to utilize the mirror. So what we're going to do here, guys, let me see how we can do this the best way here. Probably, if I put us like this, and we make our pivot here, I'm going to have to put us like this. So let's put ourselves in a single whip facing the mirror here. Okay, so put your left foot out in front, and bear with me. I just want you to do it this way so that you can see yourself in the mirror here. Okay, if you put your feet shoulders distance apart, and you're looking through tiger's mouth, okay, drop a plumb line from the left elbow to the left knee. Make your crane's beak. Think of this as 3 o'clock. This has to be a 45-degree angle behind the body, so it's about 430 or so if you want to call it that on a clock. And this right crane head is just a tad higher than your shoulder. And you're looking through tiger's mouth. Now, you want to keep the left foot flat. And as you roll the weight back, keeping the left foot flat, just open the right hand, and this is called shoulder stroke, and turn the body slightly to the right. Now, just pivot on that left heel. Same angle that you just did. It's going to put us right where we were. Now you're going to do lift hands as it is in the form. So now you're going to bring the right knee up with the right foot angled, and the right fingertips underneath the eye, and then just touch on the right heel in line with your left. So look at your hand position here. Remember, guys, if your right foot's out in front on the heel, can you see me here, Marianne? Not the single yet. And now your right hand here, just like we were doing. Now you're in the exact position that we just worked from. So now you're just going to pivot on the heel, block down with the left, and the right goes over that to block, and the weight's through the right foot there. And then stork spreads its wings, crane heads come up to the corners, and when you seat both wrists, you pivot on the left toes. And then you bring the left foot in and touch on the toes. Hands come into shoulders distance, elbows down, and then sink it. Heels touching, knees lightly touching, scoop the moon from C-bottom. Eyes to the front so you can see. Palms spread. Turn the palms up, right wrist under the left. Right crane head should be right with your navel. And then the weight shifts through the left foot as you come up with the weight through the left foot there. Okay, make sure your crane head, your right crane head's at navel height. One more time with that. And you can see why I'm having you face this way so you can see yourself, okay? And then we'll put it all together, okay, and see how we do. And if we do fairly well, I'll touch on the next movement, this crane cools its wing, okay? So here we are here in single whip. Okay, so you're going to be a nice shoulders width stance, okay? You'll have to bring your foot angle in that, you see how it's too angled out here, Trudy, you'll hurt yourself. There you go, that should feel better like that, okay? Alrighty. And looking through tiger's mouth, 45-degree angle away from your body, crane head slightly higher than the shoulder. Think of shoulder stroke. Keeping the front foot flat, you're going to roll the weight back as you open the right hand and the body turns slightly to the right. And then you're going to pivot on the left heel. And then sink the weight. Now think of lift hands. You're going to bring the right foot up, right knee up with the right foot angle, with the right fingertips under the right eye, and then just touch your heel in line with the left. That was better, guys. Good. Now, but you just keep it empty here. You just have to be empty, Marianne. You know, on the heel. There you go. That's it, guys. Good. Now, pivot on that empty right heel to the mirror as your left palm blocks down, and the right one goes over top of that, and the weight goes through the right foot there. Not bad. Stork spreads its wings, crane heads to the corners, and then seat both wrists as you pivot on the left toes. Bring the left foot in and touch on the toes as the hands come into shoulders distance, and then sink it, keeping the heels touching Mother Earth and the knees touching. Scoop the moon from C-bottom, the palms spread. Turn the palms up, right wrist under the left as the weight goes through the left foot, and come up without moving the arms independently. See, that's the whole body that moves there. Ready to give it a try? Okay. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Do you mind if I just crack another window open? Just grab a drink if you should need it, guys. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just didn't dry here, sorry. Now the challenging thing, I'm sorry, Joyce, go ahead.
When you're bending over, is your back curved? Is
Yeah,
your
there's a
back
curve to the back. In other
straight?
words, when you're coming down, it's like this. Okay?
Curved?
Yeah.
And
And only go as far as, you know,
are your hips leaning back or
well,
down?
think of coming down. Think of your buttocks as sitting in a chair here.
Okay.
Okay?
Because you don't want your knees to go,
You want your knees to stay touching.
you don't want them going further, like,
Yeah, try not to
You don't want
project them.
them
Try not to project them, you know, like out.